Okay, once again, I want to welcome everybody to the call. This is how to build your business by writing, publishing, and marketing your book and your work. And I'm John Seeley. I'm your host. I'm the best-selling author of Get Unstuck, The Simple Guide to Restart Your Life. Get Unstuck for Kids, a fun interactive guide to empower your child for life. And Keep On Believing, stories of inspiration, courage, and triumph. And I want to help you now to take your business to another level. Basically, it starts with deciding what your purpose is. And I want to remind everybody, you might want to take notes because I have to cover a lot of material, and sometimes I go a little faster than people are able to grab, so pen and paper or your computer, whatever is faster. Anyway, okay, so back to what is your purpose? And that's the first question I always ask a client, and that is to decide what is it you want to accomplish by having a book. Some people want to say, hey, I'm an author, which is great. That can open a lot of doors for you right there. Some people say, I want to be a best-selling author. That's something different. And again, the cool thing is, once you're a best-selling author, you're the best-selling author for the rest of your life. So that you can use that to open a lot of doors, and it helps build a lot of business. But a lot of times the purpose is, I want to have more of my regular business. I'd like to have a book to show that I'm the expert, but what I do is I work on cars, or I have a dental practice, or I have, I'm a coach, or I'm a teacher. I mean, it could be a lot of different things. And the thing is, nowadays, having a book, and it's been this way for a while, but right now it's easier than ever to actually have a book. It's still a lot of work, but it can be reduced and minimized depending on how you do it. So, again, the purpose is, if you want to expand that business, great, and a book can help you do that. And it's not always about having a big book, like a big, thick, 300-page book, which a lot of people think that's what they need. And no, oftentimes it can be a very small book. I've seen people who put out small books, like 40 pages, and actually made a lot of money doing it at the same time, and also built a business. So a lot of people say, well, my purpose is I want to make a lot of money. And I ask them, okay, well, do you want to make a lot of money with your book or from your book? See, from your book is a lot harder. That means I want to sell a lot of books. And selling a lot of books is a great thing to do, and it's wonderful if you can do it. But you have to realize that the odds are kind of against you right now, because in America, just America alone, there's over 400,000 new titles put out every year now. And of that, about 50,000 are put out by the big five publishers. And even if you're published with a big five, which is a whole other animal, we'll be talking about the possibilities of which way to go, but they don't actually do a lot of the promotion. Unless you're a very famous person, they're not going to give you a big advance, and they're not going to do a lot of promotion. But I can tell you how to get a decent advance and what to do with it once you get it. But also, selling books is a hard road to do. It's just by selling books like to bookstores and that kind of thing. In fact, selling books to bookstores is really one of the worst ways to sell books nowadays. But because I recently just sold 5,000 copies of one of my books, and it's all at once, and it's great because they can't return them. See, if you sell through a regular bookstore, they can. In fact, they don't usually pay you for 3, maybe 4 months, and by that time, if they don't sell them, they'll send them back to you, and then you have to pay postage both ways. But also, then they can come back damaged. There's all sorts of things. Anyway, so. But if you want to make money with your book, that's a lot easier, because what you can do is say, look, I'm an author, or I'm a best-selling author, and wouldn't you like to have me speak to your group, or wouldn't you like to do business with me? See, you can make a lot more money that way than to actually sell the books, and usually you'll sell the books besides because of that. So that's a good way to do it. So I always encourage people to want to make money with their book, and then they oftentimes can make it from their book as well. But there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and we'll be going over some of it to make sure that you understand how the process works. But then the second question you want to ask yourself when you're doing this is, who's your market? In other words, who wants that book? Who wants that information? Or who wants your business? And that is the key, because most people don't understand you have to write to that market. So like I have a kids book, so I wrote to the kids market. I want it to be friendly both for kids and for the parents. So actually it is double, written for both an adult and a child at the same time. You have to know your market, and most people don't understand. In the business, marketing is like 50% of your business, no matter what you do. And if you don't think that you're in sales of any kind, no matter what you do, you're in sales. You're selling yourself, or you're selling your services, or you're selling your products. Whatever it is, you're selling. And that's what drives your business. So you want to have that in mind when you're creating the product that you want to sell. You find out what is it that the market needs. What do they want and need? And that's the important thing. When you create a book, you have to have that market in mind when you're writing it. Now, I happen to know one of the most successful guys that had written a book. He's actually sold 5 million copies. And he just wrote a little book for his kids. And that was his market, his 2 kids. And it turned out it was a very well-received story that I think it's called A Christmas Box. And it's just transcended everything, and he's made more money than he could ever imagine. But that's the outside chance. That's a lucky chance of happening. So knowing your market in advance and knowing what they want and need, that's important. So the other part of that marketing equation is, so who else has something like what you have? So what's your competition? And I'll give you an example. When I wrote the book Get Unstuck, the first one, I actually looked out there and found out how many books were out there about getting unstuck. Well, it turns out there were 8 books called Getting Unstuck in some form. But there's no book called Get Unstuck. So I became unique from that standpoint. Now there's 5. But that's the point. It's like you have to look at what's out there. I mean, how are you going to be different and better? So that's what you want to be thinking about when you're putting this out there. Now, one of the things that's unique is that your voice is out there. And you have a unique take, even if the common information might be out there, the way you spin it, the way you have a view of it, that might be something different. And oftentimes that's exactly what it's needed, is that sometimes there's like information that's important, but it's complex and it's hard to understand, and someone who can come along and just simplify it and say, here's the deal, just do this. I mean, that's kind of what my first book was. Because I've read thousands of other people's books in personal development, and I found many of them were really challenging to understand, even for someone who's studied them for a while, much less the common person. And that's who my market was. It was the everyday person that I wanted to reach, to give them some basic information on how to change their life. So knowing that market is then how you address the market, how you're writing to that market, what need you're filling as you're doing that. That's how you work your outline to make sure you accomplish that, to make sure you have those things included. So then the question to ask you is, as you're, again, coming up with this, is why do they need what you have? Because I know a lot of people have a lot of different skills or a lot of different products in effect, and they're really varied. And I'm like, well, pick what you really want to do, and then let's look at the markets. What is the need for that? Is there a big need? Right now, there's a lot of people hurting for money. So if you can teach people about abundance, or in this case, building a business, hey, there's something there, because if people need that. A lot of people's businesses are hurting. I've seen it myself. And so I understand when people want to build something, and the old Einstein quote, to continue doing the same thing expecting different results is insanity. Well, that's actually true, and a lot of people still do it. A lot of people are trying to do the same business that they've been doing for 20 years, and maybe they got lucky. They came in the market at a good time, and the business was just zooming, and now it's not so much. And so then you have to go back to, your luck ran out as far as, just getting business walking in the door. Now you have to do something different. And so having a book to prove that you have that unique spin on what they need, different from your competitors, and satisfying their needs, that's what's out there. And then they can go, oh, look, he wrote the book on that. Let's go to him for that particular service or product. And that's so important. I've seen so many people who are very successful, and then they don't have something that proves it, and they don't have the credentials or whatever behind the name. Well, you know what? When you are an author, especially a best-selling author, that carries a lot of weight. That opens a lot of doors for you and can draw a lot of people to you with regards to doing business. So the final question on this topic is, what do you want to have as far as the way that you reach people? What is the best way that you can solve their problem? So again, this is part of what you want to think about in your business, period. and specifically in a book if you're going to write it on that, because you want to address their problems. You want to show that you are the expert that can solve the problems, and you can have a unique way of doing it, and ideally for a reasonable value. And that's what a lot of people want to create, is value for their customers and clients, and obviously get a good return on that as well. So building the business is a balance between the two. It's finding what is out there, what's the need, what do I have, how does it fit, putting it all together and creating a plan. That's the essential way of doing it. That's how you start. In fact, that's when I do an outline for a book, that's how I look at things. I'm like, okay, what do I have? What's the problem that's needing to be solved? How do I solve that problem? Is there something special that I can offer to help that problem be solved? And what way can we do it? So doing that is one of the great ways that people can make a difference in their own lives, in their own business, by showing that they have the expertise, and by demonstrating it. One of the best ways is through a book. And it's not only that, it's another avenue of income. See, that a lot of times people kind of forget about that, but I've got books out there in all different formats, Kindle books and audiobooks and paperbacks and hardcovers, and and I still get royalties from all over the place, and sometimes I get large orders from other countries that say, hey, we like your work, we saw that on the internet, and we would like to buy a couple cases of your books, or we want to buy 5,000 of your books, or whatever it might be. In fact, one of the books I just sold was in another language. So again, that opens up a whole lot of doors for you. You can reach a world market rather than just your local market. But even for your local market, to have a book, that can make a big difference in who's going to go to which person. Well, this guy's wrote the book on it. I think I'll go to him or to her. So that's something to consider. Now, when you do this, that's the writing, and then I can even go into the various aspects of the writing, how to do the writing and all that. I won't go into all that detail right now, but I will cover some of it through this, because there is a way of doing that. But even once you get the book, and I have a lot of people who come to me who are already authors. They wrote a book, they published a book, and it's 5,000 copies sitting in the garage. Now the good news is nowadays you don't have to do that. You can do print on demand very cost effectively, and it's not as cheap as if you publish print 5,000 at a time, but still you don't have to have them all in your garage. And so you can actually sell the book, and it's printed after it's sold. I mean, that's pretty cool. And then of course having Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all these other online companies that will sell and distribute your books for you, that makes it so much easier. And you can create audiobooks and all these other things as well, depending on what you think. Because I've had people who said, geez, I'd like to read the book, but I'm not really a book reader kind of person. I said, oh, well, do you like listening to books? Oh, yeah, I listen to it all the time. Put it in my car. And cool. I've got an audio version, and I've got it where you can get a CD, or you can actually just download it onto your iPod or whatever you want to do. So that's a way of reaching people. Now, part of what this does is it opens up new avenues of income for you. It opens up new markets for you. And to make sure that you do that, and to, even I've had so many people, like I said, even if they've written a book, they still don't know what to do, how to market it, how to sell it. And so one of the things you have to do is build a platform. And a lot of people are like, what's a platform? Because believe me, I didn't know what a platform was either 20 years ago. And basically a platform means, and a lot of people kind of have it because of what they do naturally, but and that is, it's how do you reach people? How do you reach your market? So you could have a big email list, like I have a big email list. You could have a lot of followers on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Plaxo and all the myriad social networking sites out there, and have a natural following. And that could be your market, because believe it or not, that's another way to reach people. And so that's an important thing. Have you been published as far as like writing articles? I go, when I first wrote a book, they go, well, you got to write articles. I go, why? I wrote a book. They go, no, you have to be seen through articles, all the periodicals. So yes, I've been in the New York Times and the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune, hundreds of newspapers and magazines, and it's because that's part of your platform. It's part of getting people out there to know you. I've been on radio shows and TV shows. Again, that's part of your platform. If you can do that now, people have these video blogs where you have your own TV show. And if you don't have one, find other people who have a topic that they have a show and get on their show. it's all different. It's changed dramatically in the last 15 years with the internet, and so that's the good news, is that there's a lot more ease of getting into these things. You don't have to go on a terrestrial, that's what they call it now, terrestrial radio or TV show. You can, and actually I've got lists of the contacts for a lot of them because that's how you get on them. But and that's a whole other topic. But the point is to get out there. That's part of building your platform. It's how do you reach your audience? Like if you have your own show, I had a radio show, actually had two, for more than 10 years, and so I had a market from that too, because people would listen to my radio show. And so that way you have a way of reaching people through that. So if you're lucky enough to do that, great. If not, again, now you can start one on the internet almost at no cost, and it's well worth it. Sorry, I had to pause there for a cough. Okay, so another one is media coverage, and that is, again, if you get written in a newspaper or magazine or on a local radio or TV show, if you can do that, and there's a trick to doing that, but if you can do that, that's great, because as opposed to taking out an ad somewhere, and even now they have internet ads, it's much more effective to get your publicity from somebody else, use their credibility, ABC, CBS, NBC, whatever, and then they have you on as an expert, and because you have a book, and then all of a sudden you get a lot of business because people go, hey, I saw you on the Today Show, or I heard you on the radio. And ideally, by the way, if you ever do that, get copies of it, because the station will give you a copy. So if you're ever on anybody else's radio show or TV show or something like that, get copies of it. Get your own YouTube channel and put that up there. Again, that's part of your platform. I know people who just made YouTube videos and suddenly, they got going. In fact, the lead singer of Journey, which actually connects to me in another way, the reason I have the book Keep On Believing was because of the Journey song, Don't Stop Believing. And anyway, the new lead singer, he was just putting up videos on YouTube of him singing Journey and Eagles and other songs, and the band needed a new singer, and they were just checking out the YouTube, and they found this guy and go, hey, this guy's great, and checked him out. Guess what? He's the new lead singer of Journey because he just put stuff on YouTube. So the social media is really powerful. There's a lot of possibilities with it right now, and you kind of have to do a bunch. You can't just do one. So there's actually software that you can get which will link a whole bunch of them together. So it might link your Facebook and your Twitter and your LinkedIn and all the other ones, Pinterest and whatever. And that way, if you post on one, you can post on 4, 5, 6, 8, whatever, how many you got. And it saves you a lot of time, because I know a lot of people go, I don't have much time, I'm in business. Like, okay, if you can take 5 or 10 minutes, 5 days a week, you can post in all these different places, and all of a sudden you have a big reach. So it's not as hard as it looks, but you have to know the tricks. So then building that up, and of course having a book. I tell people to use their book as a business card, because that's pretty much what it is. In fact, when I first did the books, I didn't realize I was going to have to give away a whole bunch of books, but you do. If you want to get known, you have to give books to radio stations and TV stations and newspapers and bookstores to get them to like your book and then buy the book. So it's like free samples to start with, and then all of a sudden it opens the door. Or to speaking gigs, you send them a book. Here's a book. Here's what I talk about. Would you like to have me speak for your company, for your organization? So you have to have those for free samples. But the good news is usually they pay off quite well, because then they buy 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500 copies, whatever it is, and pay you to speak besides. So again, making money with your book rather than from the book. Because anytime you go to speak, then usually there'll be an availability of selling in the back. And again, I can go into all the how to do the speaking thing and all that, but that's kind of a separate topic. We don't have time to do all that here. But the good news is, again, this is about creating multiple streams of income for your business, no matter what the business is. And I've helped people who were professional gamblers. I have people who were a dentist. Recently, we did a dentist. I did people in rehab clinics, and we built their base business by them having a book, because it gave them the credibility of going, oh, we should go there. Look, they're the experts. They got the book. And that opens up lots of doors for you. And no matter what you do, it's good. There's a guy who's a detailer. Well, he can write the book on how to detail things, because you know what? That can get a more detailing business, because they go, we got to go to him because look, he wrote a book on it. So I'm telling you, it's something that really can build your business in so many ways, and then again, get additional streams of income. So if you're putting it out there as an expert, the one thing you got to remember is you have to know how to make a book a book. Now, even though there's a lot of sites out there that will help you, and I know people who do not know how to write, don't like to write, but they have great information and they want to be an author. Well, we can fix that. That's not a problem. You have to have the right editor. You have to, and that's another thing. When you choose an editor for your book, because you want to make sure that you have a good editor, it's not just about the grammar and spelling. That's important, but it's also about maintaining your voice, because yours, again, we're going back to that unique thing. You're the unique piece in this puzzle. And you want, when you're speaking, the way I write in kind of a conversational kind of tone, but I can write in other verses as well, because I've written a whole bunch of different things depending on what the need was. And I've had people who knew my work and read it and go, who wrote this? This is good. I go, I wrote that. They go, no, I know you're writing. It's not like that. I go, yeah, I can write in different styles. Really? Yes, but guess what? When I edit other people's books, I maintain their voice, because it's so important. Because I learned this the hard way when I was writing my first book, and I hired a couple of different professional editors, and I was having arguments with them over what they wanted to take out and put in, and I'm like, half of them, they were right. And I just said, fine, those are fine. The other half is like, no, it no longer means what I was saying. I mean, it might flow and look pretty, but it doesn't mean the same thing anymore, because you don't understand the concept. Well, that's what I found, is that when you have a voice and you have a message, you don't want to lose that message to an editor, because they don't know what you're really about. They don't know your voice. They don't know your style, and they don't know maybe even the topic. They're just going grammar, spelling, whatever. Whenever I do editing, it's about editing content as well as grammar and spelling, because saying something in the right way, the difference from where you put a comma can make a difference in a whole sentence, but also, again, keeping your voice, make it sound so it's still you, not me, and that's why I have other editors too that I send people to, depending on what the need is. But that's the thing, you want to keep your voice, because you're the expert, and that's the thing. We want you to come off as the expert, so you have to have a good organization. Now, I've got a very famous person. Well, in my mind, he's famous. He's been on PBS about 10 times, and I've only been on once. But he's got a book out that I just bought, because I thought, hey, I love the topic. He's really good. And I looked at the book and I go, my God, it's self-published. And someone of that stature, you would think, would have hired someone who would have done a better job. I can look at books and I can tell it's self-published. Now, self-published doesn't have the stigma it used to. And in fact, many of the books that are published now are self-published but look great. And that's because they had a good editor, they had a good graphic artist, they had someone that knew what they're doing about putting the book together. And, because, again, your credibility is on the line. That book is your representation of you. And so it better look good and look professional, because otherwise you're wasting your time. So even if you have a good message, if it's you got spelling and grammatical errors, or you got formatting errors, it just looks crappy, the way you do things, it's like there's so many things you actually do before the book's done that you have to recognize. And that's why you want to have someone that knows what they're doing to walk you through it. If you want to take the time, it might take you a couple of years, but you can learn all the same things too. I mean, I spent $150,000 to learn the book publishing and marketing business, and I was already in marketing before that for businesses, and I realized it's a different animal. It's like, yeah, I know sales and marketing, but sales and marketing for books, whole different animal. So I learned from the top people in the field. I've studied with the best of them. I worked with them, and I learned what they knew, so that I wouldn't have to suffer. And even so, in the process, you still make mistakes, and you learn from them, ideally. And so I learned from my mistakes, I learned from their mistakes, and I also found the top people in there to know what information can be the shortcut for me and for other people. And that's the thing. Now that you're the expert, you want to make sure that you hold that out there and look good, because that's what's kind of proving you that you're the expert. Now, having a unique spin on on your information, that's what's going to draw people to your business. And so if you have 10 people that do the same thing you do, and you've got a book, guess who they're going to go to? You. So you want to show how you're different and better. That's always what it's about. How are you different and better? And how, in other words, how are you different and better at solving the problem that the market that you have or market that you want, because you may have one market and want another one. So how do you solve that problem? And you can have more than one market, and that's okay. Is you might have to tailor something differently. And I've had books, like I said, one is in a different language. So because I know that that's another market that I wanted to be into, and I thought, hey, that's a great place to be. Let's do that. So again, that's something you can do. And by the way, I also have contacts with publishers all over the world, because you can sell your book rights in that particular country to a publisher where they pay you money up front, and then they pay you a royalty in addition. And that's and you don't have to do anything. Just give them the files for the book, and you're done. And that you make money. So that's a cool thing to do. And yet you can keep the rights to all the other countries, including perhaps the U.S. or wherever you are. I've got people in 43 countries on my list, so I oftentimes don't know which countries are listening. But and there's different rules in different countries. But the good news is I know how to work with all those different publishers, how to get your book distributed internationally, how to get your book translated. And again, that's opening up new markets for your regular business, whatever that is. Now, if you're a chiropractor, chances are you don't want to go over to Australia to make an adjustment, but you might want to go there to speak, because it's a cool place to go. I've done it. So that's the kind of thing. If you can build in a whole lot of benefits. Is like, I like to travel. Well, great. You can get paid to travel. Wouldn't that be good? Yeah. And that's a side benefit. Plus, it's a tax write-off, and you get paid. So, I mean, it's the best of all worlds. So having your unique spin is one of the ways that you want to do it. And if you don't have one, we can come up with one. I work with people all the time who I help them to just create the plan. Sometimes they want to do it themselves, but they want me to help them brainstorm and come up with a plan and maybe outline the book and all that. Other people want me to actually walk them through the whole process and actually publish their book, which I've done. And like I said, I don't think I mentioned here, but on my postings, I've helped over 50 people become best-selling authors, which is the rest of their lives, they're a best-selling author. So that's a pretty cool thing to have under your name that will open up doors for you and a lot of different things. If nothing else, good dinner conversation. But so the ideal is when you want to do this, you want to put a plan together where you're building one step upon another. In other words, if you got the book, well, you don't stop there. You want to get, say, let's get your book to speak. And if you're getting book to speak, well then, or maybe you get on a radio show. Let's do that first. Let's get you on a radio show, and then you set up a speaking engagement shortly thereafter, so that when you're on the radio show, you can go, oh, and I'll be speaking. I'll be doing a book signing over Barnes and Nobles, or whatever it might be, so that you're building on each step. You're piggybacking one on top of another. And of course, once you do one book, you can get other ones out pretty easily as well. Because it's not that the first one's necessarily the hardest, but getting you through the process, you feel more comfortable after the first one. I remember when I first saw someone else that I knew that had a book, and I'm like, oh my God, how'd you do that? I mean, that was really, I just thought, wow, that is so cool, which it was. And now it's like, I can, someone wants to be an author, yeah, we can do that. Like, I have no problem. I have a publishing company. We market and distribute through, internationally. So, yes, we can do that for you. And that to me was jaw-dropping 25 years ago, to be thinking that that would be a possibility. So, notice that if you're thinking about doing this book, are you nervous about it? Because if you're confident, you already got a book. I've had people who come to me, I've got a book, but it hasn't been selling. I don't know what to do. And okay, great. And we come up with a plan, and I can either help them with the plan, or I can just design the plan and go, here you go. So it just depends on what your needs are. I customize everything, just like you do for your book in certain ways. When you do a speaking engagement, it may not be exactly on the topic of your book, but because you have that book, it gives you the credibility to do a topic that you are still an expert at, like your regular business. But I've had people, like I said, who take their regular business, and like a chiropractor I know, and we wrote a book that showed that he knows, chiropractic, but it was about how to live a healthy life. And then, chiropractic was just part of it. So, but it made him stand out from all the other chiropractors by saying, look, I'm the one that's got the book. So we built up that, and he does get offered to go speaking as well. So doing the speaking is, for some people, terrifying. And so I've had people go, I don't ever want to speak. I go, okay, fine, you don't have to. But if you want more business, you can have someone else speak for you. Or you can just get your book out there so people realize it. And if nothing else, I've seen people who had a repair shop, and they put a book on, how to, maintain your car. That was their little book. And because they had a book on their counter, people realized that they were an expert at that and different than all the other repair shops, because who else do you have out there that's got a repair shop that's got a book? So that's something to consider. If you want to just build your regular business, you can do it. You don't have to do the speaking. But if you want to do speaking, that's a great way to build additional business. Sorry, it was another one of those pause for clearing the throat, taking a drink. Okay. So speaking, that's a whole different animal, and I can go into that at length, but I think more people want to just learn about building the business. The book itself. Okay, like I said, if you want to do the writing, and you like writing, and you're good at writing, great. I've had people who are really good at writing, makes my editing job easier. And I've had people who are not really good at writing. I have other people who just don't want to write, period. So, in fact, one of the books we're going to be doing is I'll interview the person, and then we'll write the book based on the interview, and then they'll have a book. So they actually are doing no writing. Makes it easier for them. But they have the expertise, and so that's a way of doing it. In fact, when you see a lot of politicians and some of the other famous people in the business of coaching, therapists, whatever, a lot of times they're not the actual writers of the book. They're dictating to people asking them questions, and then the other people write the book, and presto changeo, it comes out. So if you're a great writer, great. If you're not, doesn't matter. We can still get a book done for you, and you're still the expert because it's your information. So editing and proofing, and this is something that's so important. So many people I know don't realize that no matter, even when I'm writing a book, and I'm a really good editor now, after I've edited 20 books or whatever it's been recently, it's like I still hire another editor if it's my writing, because you can't often see your own mistakes. You have to have someone else look at it and go, hey, how about this? Oh, yeah, good thing you caught that. So it's like a brain surgeon. He doesn't do his own brain surgery. He hires another doctor to do that. So the same thing goes for me and for everybody. You need to have another set of eyes, ideally an expert set of eyes, to look at your book and to see, where it is. I remember in one of my first books, I said the word something in like 4 times in 4 sentences. And I was like, wow, we've got to change that. Because when I was writing, it just flowed. But when you actually read it, you go, what the hell is he talking about? Why do you keep saying that? So that's why another set of eyes, which, by the way, that was another editor that caught that. And I go, yes, you're right. I need to change that. So you want to make sure that it comes out looking good and professional. And then there's formatting. Once you even get all the right words together, and then you've got to make it look good so that it reads well in a book. Or a book format, or a Kindle now that they're coming out with the electronic books. And by the way, electronic books, which don't cost you anything to print, which is great, they're outselling the printed books. So they're more profitable, really, and they can be, people can have 1,000 books in their Kindle. Instantly downloaded, they got the book already. So I absolutely tell people, no matter what, when you're doing a book, you absolutely want to do a Kindle version. So that's something that's so important to have in today's day and age. This is so funny that I usually don't have a problem talking so much, but for some reason, I've had to water my throat again. Okay. So, making the book look good, and so different formats, meaning different formatting as well. They don't just translate from one to the other, and so, but having that Kindle version, and then, like I said, possibly different languages, and Kindle version of that as well, because it's so great to just have a email sent to me that says, okay, we're sending your royalties, they're in your bank account. And I go, cool. I didn't have to wrap the book up. I didn't have to pay someone to ship it for me. We didn't have to print it. It's out there. But even depending on which way you do it, there's ways of doing it where you have someone else out there who will do that when they do want a printed book. And so that's part of it when you do a publishing deal. And that's an important thing. Most people, I'm going to talk a little bit about the publishing industry now, because some people go, well, I want to be published by Simon & Schuster and all that. Oh, great. First of all, we're going to do a little traditional publishing versus self-publishing. And traditional publishing, typically, even if they like what they got, in other words, somehow you got to a publisher and they like your writing and they want you to do a book, and they give you a royalty, or they don't give you a royalty, they give you an advance, that is usually 2 years before the book actually comes out. And a good part of that time, by the way, is marketing. They're actually, because the part that they do is distribution. They might help you get testimonials, which is a big thing that people don't understand. Sometimes they don't get testimonials till they've finished the book. They're like, well, that's good, but you need to plan the marketing for usually a minimum of 4 months in advance. And with a traditional publisher, they go 2 years because that's how long they expect it to take to write, and then do all the formatting and editing and all that stuff, and then getting the marketing all set up, and then finally releasing it. Now, there's a whole process to how you do that. I know how to get publishers and everything. And by the way, don't bother sending a book or a manuscript to a publisher, because every single publisher has a person or a department that does nothing but not open those and stamp return to sender on them and shove them back. So you're just wasting your time. And that's because they will not take a chance on opening something and then have you possibly sue them if they've got another book that might be similar to yours, because you'll go, hey, I sent them my thing, and look, they came out with this, because it so happens at the time I did approach a publisher for the topic I had, and it turned out they did have a book that was coming out literally called Getting Unstuck. And I said, oh, well, so great minds think alike, but I guess too late for you. So they won't do it. And just to let you know, traditionally in advance now, if you're lucky, if you got $5,000, that'd be a big advance. Now, people hear these $1 million advances, and if you're the ex-president or whatever, yeah, you can get $1 million advance because they know they're going to sell that many copies, so that's not a problem. Because basically the advance that they give you is what they think that they'll make in profit for the first year. And so if you're an unknown author, they're probably not going to give you much. They might even give you like $500. And the other thing is, what people don't understand is, when you're working with a traditional publisher, then guess who has the rights to your book? They do. That's what they're paying you for. Because I know a gentleman who has written several #1 New York Times bestselling books, and doesn't do that work anymore because the profit's all going with them. He gets a small royalty, but he didn't get a good deal when he set it up. And so you have to understand that's what publishers do. And unfortunately, a lot of times they don't do much else other than put you into the distribution chain and whatever. But if you don't do marketing, your book's not selling, you're going to get nothing. So self-publishing you can do in a very short amount of time, depending on how fast you write, who you have editing, and then once you get it done, formatted, proofed, it can be up instantly, literally. And that's kind of a cool thing, because I released a book last year at this time, and we got it to be a #1 bestseller. So that was a pretty cool thing. And so here we are in the gift time of year. So it's a good time to do it, although there are other gift times, so this is obviously the biggest one. So if you have something that's a timely piece, then you want to make sure that it's not stuck in a traditional publisher. Self-publishing, and even if you don't want to do the publishing yourself, there's people like me who can help you. And I've helped a lot of people to publish their books and get their message out. And again, once you can hold up a book or look, I'm the expert at this, that's when you're going to get more business, because that's what you want to do. You want to say, look, I'm the expert detailer, I'm an expert mechanic, I'm an expert chiropractor, whatever it is that you do. Most of those people in that business don't have a book. And that's how you stand out. That's how you make yourself unique and different and better. That's what people want. So that's a big thing. And if you're a coach or you're a therapist, even more so, because people want to know what you know so that they decide if they want to hire you or not. So you can brand yourself by doing that. Again, I'm kind of the Get Unstuck guy, and so that's was my brand to start with, is to get things going. And it turns out it's a good one, because when people want to coach, it's because they're stuck. So here I am, the guy that's the definitive expert on how to get unstuck. Oh, I can do that. And I also, having done the publishing, I thought, well, people need to do this. I spent a lot of time and money to learn how to do this, and I can help other people do this, because they were coming to me like, well, okay, we'll do that too. So then, besides the marketing and the distribution, you want to be able to get distributed to all the bookstores and all the bookstores' websites around the world, because it's so cool to go to another country and see your book on the shelf, or even see it on their website. And so that's something that you need to make sure is included with whatever method you use to be published, because it's a world market nowadays. You gotta really work for that, because it's a much bigger market. Why not go for it? And granted, a number of them don't have them in your language, but if there's enough demand, I had someone that translated my book into Czech, because there's a demand for it over there. Like, okay, cool. Okay, so then the last part of that is marketing and promotion, because a lot of people don't realize once you write a book, that's half the battle. And then, let's say you write and publish a book, again, half the battle. Now the other half is getting out there and making it make money for you. So there's a lot of different ways to market and promote your work and your book. Again, we're back to the original thing. What is your goal? What is the purpose of having the book? Is it that you want to build your regular business up? Okay, great. So then there's ways to create that demand. If you now have a book and you're an expert on something, the key is, if there's something in the news that could be a hook for you, that could get you on there, like say there's a big recall now on certain things. I know airbags one thing, and you're a mechanic. You've got a mechanic shop, and maybe you actually can install those. So then you can contact a local radio and TV station and say, hey, about that story about the recall, I'm helping to repair a lot of those cars, and I've got a book that says blah 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 blah, how to keep your car and your life in great running order, or something like that. Then they go, hey, maybe we can have this guy on, a human interest story on how to keep your car running, your life running, and connected to the recall. Because people are out there in the news, they're trying to get something interesting on there, and they're trying to get something sometimes just to be positive, because there's so much negativity. So if you can come out there and give them a unique hook like that, they'll go, oh, sure. And of course, while you're on there, then they go, yes, and it's Mac's Auto Repair on Manchester. Let's make sure that if you have something wrong with your car, go over there. Mac will take care of you, and get a copy of his book while you're there. So that's the kind of thing that you can do. Getting an article in the newspaper. There's services that you can write press releases that will distribute your press release all over the world, and pretty inexpensively by comparison to what it used to be 25 years ago. It's amazing. But and again, you can hire someone to do all this for you. You don't have to do any of it. You can have someone else who's an expert at this say, oh, I want a press release? Okay, we'll write a press release. If you want to get on these radio and TV shows, you need a media kit. So you have to have a media kit. Well, we do media kits for people. And they go, what's a media kit? Well, a media kit's a combination of things that make people want to have you come either speak or be on their show for being interviewed. Another thing we do is I do interviews for people. So people go, have you been on an interview? Yes. because I've interviewed them. Here's a recording, so they can hear what you sound like, and they go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Let's have you on our show. So all this stuff goes in Media Kit. It's all part of marketing. But you don't have to do any of it if you don't want to, or you can do all of it if you want to. I mean, sometimes I know people are really good at their technical stuff, or they got their high school kid that's really good at technical stuff, and they go, look, Fred, I want you to come over here. You're going to film me. I'm going to, talk about what I teach or my book that I just had, and I'm going to have you film it so that I can put it on YouTube, and it'll be part of my Media Kit. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing that you want to do. And actually, I can refer people who want to do it yourself. I got tons of references for you to go to. Oh, there's a book on this, and it depends on what your need is. But I know, having gone through all these books and actually interviewed most of the people who wrote the books on my various shows, I can tell people, oh yeah, this is the book for you. That's the one. And I got one, a screenwriter. He wants to turn a book into a screenplay. I'm like, okay, great. And I can here's the book to read. Tell you exactly how to do it. Actually, there's audio programs for it too. So again, it's about knowing how you want to present what you do, but also having someone else who can look at your stuff and go, this is really good, and what about putting it in this frame? Like I've had people who never thought about foreign markets for their books. I said, well, there's a whole lot of other countries that speak English, and so you don't even have to change the formatting. And for some people, if you get another country that likes your content, they'll translate it for you. So it's the publisher's responsibility. Meanwhile, you get a check, and you get royalty payments. So, in fact, they also, in my contracts, I always say, and you have to send, 5 copies or whatever it is in that language, so that you can go, look, here's my book in that language. And so, the idea is having someone out there who works for you that you can delegate a bunch of this stuff to, that you don't have to do all the work, but you can get the benefits. And so, if you want to do that, that's the important thing. If you want to build, again, we're back to the first part of the speech tonight, and that's what's the purpose? What's the purpose of why you want to do this? So we always, when we build a plan, we always build it around that, because that's the goal. We want to make sure that you get what your purpose is. Your purpose is to make a lot of money from it. Great. Here's how to do it. If you want to become a top-notch speaker, great. We can show you how to do that. If you want to just build your regular business, great. We'll show you how to do that. And yet, without having to learn the how to make the book happen, we can do that. Or if you want to learn how to make the book happen, we can do it that way too. So it really depends on how you want to do it. And so I want to let people know it's all custom designed depending on what your skill level is and what your talent is and what your goal is. If that's what you want, we'll make it happen. And that's what so many people, you can be overwhelmed, believe me. Even when I first got into it, it was overwhelming to learn all the stuff that you can have to know about the writing and publishing, marketing, the books and whatever, and then plus your regular business. So you don't have to learn all that stuff. You can delegate that. That's the best part, because so many people get caught up in the, I don't know how to do it. That's why you have a coach. You want a coach that will keep you flowing, because that's what coaches do, because things do get stuck, and keep you accountable to getting the book done. And I know some people, depending on the way they write, we design a program differently. Some people, they find it overwhelming to write at all. I'm like, can you write 1 page a day? They go, yeah. I go, let's just do that. And then at the end of a year, they got 365 pages. We got us a book. And frankly, we don't even have to have that many pages, and we don't have to have that big a book. So it depends on your timeline. I've had people who we finished a book in a weekend, literally, because it wasn't meant to be a big, long book. It was meant to be general stuff that they could share of their expertise that would make other people want to buy their real product. So, and I had people who wanted to have a book as a gift. They wanted to write it. It was for their loved one. And so they wanted to write a book about their loved one without the loved one knowing it. So we did that. And then we put it together, and they gave it to them as a gift. And then, again, you could have it published as a hard copy, and you can buy 1 copy. That's a cool thing. Back in the day, you couldn't get 1 copy. You'd have to buy a minimum of 1,000 copies. But now you can get 1, and you can order them on demand. So if the cousin sees it, hey, I want one of those. Okay, great. We'll order it and send it to your house. And that's another cool thing. You can have it sent directly to the person who's ordered it, so they can pay you, and then you can have it shipped right to them. So, and of course, if you want to get into bookstores and sell your books in quantities, we've got ways of doing all that too. So it just depends on what your purpose is, and we'll help you figure out a plan that'll fit that and accomplish that, and then help you to get to that place. So I hope this has been beneficial for you to understand some of what you can do by building your business and having a book to make your statement. For more information, I want people to know that I'm going to be doing free consultations right now. So you can email me at john@bookmarketingwiz, that's WIZ.com. So it's bookmarketingwiz.com, john@bookmarketingwiz.com. And then I will set up a individual consultation depending on our schedules. We'll put something together, and we'll go through and decide if it makes sense to work together. And there's no cost for that. A lot of people get a lot of benefit just out of that, and they get a plan like, oh, I'm going to do this. Some people are ready to do it right now. Some people want to wait and do something else, which is fine. But if you really want to get this done, then the time is now, because it's not an instant progress. Even though we can, like I said, we can write a book in a weekend, we can write a book in a month. But if you really want to have some super duper book out that really is a bestseller, then that usually takes a little bit more time and effort. And then again, the marketing. So we'll come up with a plan for you. We'll find out what makes sense. Email me, john@bookmarketingwiz.com. And for those people who have listened to this recording, I'm going to make a special to all the people I know, and that is I'm going to give away all my Kindle books for free on Thanksgiving as a way of giving back. So you can do a search for John Seeley, S like in Sam, EELEY, M.A., because there's other John Seeleys. And that will find my books on Amazon, and on Thursday they will be free. Right now I have a special on at least the latest one, the kids book, Get Unstuck for Kids, which is a great book. I'm really proud of it, where you buy the paperback and you get the Kindle book for free. So it's like 2 for 1. But on Thursday, you can get the Kindle book by itself for free, and also the Get Unstuck for free, and also the Keep on Believing for free. And I might put some other ones. We'll see. Anyway, so tell your friends about it, because you listen to this, so you can share that. Go get the books and read them. They'll help you, if nothing else, or your kids, or somebody. You can always, give them to somebody else. But also, if you want to get a book out, you want to build your business, let's talk. Let's at least talk and find out, does this make sense for you? Is it something that would be the right thing to do? Email me and include your phone number, include the times that would be a good time to call, times and dates, and time zones, because I'm in the west coast of the United States, so I'm calling Australia or New Zealand or India or England or whatever, and so I need to know where you are so I can figure out a time that will work for both of us to put this together. And of course, if you're in the States, still need to know time zone. So John at Keep On Believing. Oh, that's my other book. Sorry, that's another one. KeepOnBelieving.com. John at BookmarketingWiz.com will get you there. And let's talk and see if we can't put something together that'll build your business and create a book for you. So look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope this has been good for you. If you see a link for it up, you can share it with other people if they're the kind that want to write a book as well. Okay, thanks a lot, and have a great day.